Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome again. Always saying welcome, 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 because I'm always accompanied by my guides. Thank you. As a medium. And it's funny they just said in the middle. Of course, that's why the medium is the expression. Medium and a channeler. I'm going to bring you some information today. Some of this information is just literally through my experiences. Oh gosh, now I'm 10, 15 years. Who knows? Even going back to me being a child, of the experiences I've had and the information I've got. And so they are also going to be here to answer questions later. These are my guides that step forward to assist me today. These have been teachers that have been here thousands of years ago, and they're here to help as well, to assist. So, okay, thank you. And today's topic, I love this, because I was just saying I have a recorded, I'm recording this right now. I have a group of live, or they are live, they're there, I can see them, they're moving, they're blinking, live audience. And then also this is being recorded for those who's going to listen to it later on, wherever you might hear this information. And so this is they're laughing now, my guys on the other side. So the topic today is talking about soul connections, and okay, that covers a multitude of sins of whatever, and they're sort of saying it covers the soul connections as we have with friendships, partners, family members, okay, thank you, and also twin flames and soulmates. This is a whole collection. Also looking at your soul connection, your own soul as well, which is really important. So I'll give you as much information as I can on that topic, and then, as I say, for those who are here, they will be asking me questions which won't be recorded, but I'll listen back to it later, and then I'll put out the questions later on and in a recording as such. Okay, and that's a difference from if you're sitting in front of me or you are listening to this later on. Okay, thank you. Okay, so all day I had 4 clients today, and not by accident, but the 4 clients today was very much about soulmates. Have they met their soulmates, and where is their soulmate? They're still waiting, and they haven't appeared as yet, and they want to know what's going on. And I was like, oh, I was trying to explain to them. And then a beautiful client of mine said, I've been told that there is the one soul connection. I was like, oh no, the one soulmate, when that's the one that I'm gonna meet them, and then I'm gonna marry them and have children and everything else. And it's not as simple as that, so I'm going to explain. Okay, so as we know, thank you, they said, okay, start from the beginning. Okay, thank you. Oh, well, I won't go right to the beginning because that's before we were born, but well, okay, let's do that then. Right, fine. So if we think of your soul, very much about your soul comes on this journey of your life journey as the human. You're experiencing everything that happens to you, for you on this planet. Now, as a human being, the human is interacting with the world, is experiencing your senses that you have. I mean, they say 5 senses, but there's a lot more there. That's seeing, feeling, hearing, and everything else, and touch and taste and everything else. That's the part of the human. This is part of your suit, spacesuit, or I'm not in a spacesuit, but your vessel. And sometimes I like to think of it as like a vehicle, like a car, for instance. And the soul is very much like the driver. That the driver, once you have a car, you pop into the physical vessel, or the car, or the vehicle, whatever it is, and you drive it. And then when that vehicle no longer can continue, like they always say it's like the heart, the engine of the vehicle, then it's time for the driver to pop out of that vehicle, then to obtain another vehicle, if that's what it's meant to do. And it's very much about your soul is placed in this physical human and your being. So the human being, your being in this moment. So your soul is like on a recycle process. And I have to admit, when I look at it and as a medium, I'm understanding more and more. Had a couple of clients today. One of my clients, that he'd been here many times, past lives, and actually by the way that I could say to him, well, the evidence for that is because in this lifetime, this is what you might feel. He said, yes, you're correct. And I said, well, because that past life, you were connected to whatever it was. And I had a woman today also, and I said to her that she'd been a male soldier, and I said, and this is why this is very strong in you now today as a characteristic, you're part of your personality. And she said, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. So your soul is on a recycle, like a recycle wash, like a wash machine that just told me, because it's what your soul needs to learn in any lifetime. It's what the lessons, it's something that's teaching your soul. Your soul is always trying to seek out information, rising, up leveling, upgrading itself, seeking out why something's happened. So in a past life, you know, this woman today, she was a soldier, and she did exactly what she was told to do by the one who was in command. And on her deathbed, her soul had said, this is wrong. This had been my mission, to constantly fight, to go into battle. You know, my mission, my drive was to do this. And at the end, I realized that it doesn't feel right. I don't feel happy. There's a heavy weight upon me. So in this lifetime, she was so much against war, but it was very much about, she really believed in justice and the truth and everything else. There was she didn't tell me this, I was telling her, and she said, oh my God, that makes so much sense why I feel the way I do. So her soul came back in this lifetime to live a total different existence, because it was part of the soul journey, that there's many parts to you. Okay, thank you. I often sort of use this as an example, you know, this giant crystal, wish it was a giant diamond, and there's many facets, many sides to it. And that's very much like your soul. Your soul has come here to improve, to grow, to develop parts of you. So one soul, one part of your lifetime, in a past life, you might have been a soldier. Another part of your life, you come back and you resolve issues. And as I was saying to this individual, I said, karmically, you have repaid stuff back. I mean, in this individual, one of the individuals today is a nurse. And it's really funny that she believes in saving lives. And it's so funny, it's really connected to a past life where she would have taken lives as a soldier. So in this life, she comes back and does this. So it's fulfilling the other need for her, like a coin, the flip side of a coin. So on a soul level, this is what she's here to do. Okay, thank you. And they said, what happens sometimes is when the soul appears in the human being, when it's here, that if you are not following your heart, which is really part of your soul process and the whole progression and your high consciousness and everything, if you're not following your heart, you're then really incomplete to some degree. That if you follow your heart, you will be guided, navigated, like your heart, the compass. You'll be navigated to where and who you need to be with and how to live your life. But if you don't follow your heart, and in a way, one of my clients today, that very much about her family she's born into, that they want her to live a certain way in her life. And she'd done that. She got the qualifications, she did the job they wanted her to do. And she still felt that there was something, there was a purpose, there was a reason why she should be here. But because she wasn't following the signature of her heartbeat, her heart, because she wasn't following that, she felt uncompleted. And also the message that came forward for her today was that very much about, if she follows what her heart truly desires, she'll meet that connection, that soulmate, that twin flame, whoever it is that's meant to come along and be part of her journey. But because she was living her life as the human being by the way that her family members wanted her to live her life, she's not fulfilled. So she's done right by her family, but not done right by her soul and herself. Now, if we look at families, we look at soul pods that we're born into. Again, it's a bit like the chess pieces in a chess set, that you play a certain role, and you might be the rook or the knight or the king or the queen in this particular lifetime, and they are the other members. And we know when you play chess, you know, whether the black pieces of chess and you've got the white piece of chess, which are opposite, depending on where you move, other members of your family will move against it. So it just depends on the roles that they play in your life and who you are. Now, okay, thank you. Now, again, let's look at the soul. In this lifetime, as I was just talking about some other clients that I had today, in this lifetime, you might appear as a male or a female, but a previous lifetime, you could have been a different gender. So there is that as well, but it's the role that you're playing. You could have been the mother to your mother in a previous lifetime. You could have been the sister to your mother. Your mother could have been your sister. It just depends on the roles and the roles that you play. But soul pods tend to come, they normally follow each other through in your soul journey. So whatever needs to be resolved, whatever issues come up, and you know, remember that I'm, you know, I study psychology and I'm a counselor and a therapist as well. So looking at it from that point of view, it's like, whoa, you know, it doesn't always match up. But from a soul energy level, there are things that need to be played out in the family, and they can be resolved and tidied up, they said, on a psychological level. Of course they can, so that then the soul then can progress and move on. Okay, thank you. Okay, now we go to the juicy bits. Some people always ask me, and like today, I literally had a client and there was like 4 or 5 different partners that she wanted me to look at and to see if they were the match for her. And this does happen. I've had quite a few clients or family members who sit in front of me and say, can you ask their great uncle who's passed over on the other side, and can you ask what they think of the match now that we have for this individual? Now, if we look at soulmates, okay, so soulmates, very much about, they are here. There's different types of soulmates, but they are very much about here to either hold your space, to be by your side, walk with you on your journey through your life. And you'll know when a soulmate comes in, there may be that true feeling of that real bonding, that connection, that either you've met them before, that could come up, that you feel so strong that you feel that you've met them before. You're not too sure where you've met them before. It might be that there's a connection to a past life with them, and that's why they've come in to then recycle that past life experience that they had with you. So I had, let's use numbers this way, because working for a numerologist, let's say my ex-partner, the relationship was toxic between us. It doesn't mean that he was toxic, it just means it didn't function for our both. It's like there was lessons that had to be learned. But so he's like a number 8, so it was about money, control, and everything. When I did past lives, it looked like he had come in previously in past lives where he controlled me with money before. And in this lifetime, by inviting him in, because your soul's always about growth, and the worst it feels, I had a client today, that the worst it felt, they had a narcissistic partner. And I said, actually, by you having that narcissistic partner come into your life, it was actually for you to break through that relationship, to show that, you know, you are stronger than you thought that you were. And they were a soulmate. The soulmate had drew up a contract with them on the other side, that they were comes forward in this lifetime to teach them, to show them, but it's down to the individual that you learn from that lesson. So you get some relationships where there is a narcissistic partner and you stay in the relationship and you don't do what's best for you for whatever reason. It might be staying for the children or whatever, but then you don't do what's best for you, but you know deep down inside that's what you should be doing. And on that level, the soul connection holds you for a little bit longer. But the idea with a soulmate is to come in to learn a lesson from them. There's those soulmates which you'll learn a lesson from, and you'll feel that you've been with them before. And the feeling is so strong, deep-seated. It can feel overwhelming that you're really overly in love with them. It's like, wow, this bond, like magnetic, because the universe is bringing to you somebody that you are vibrating at the similar level, that you, whatever you have experienced as a human being, you know, your soul, this human being body, whatever your life has been experienced, you've attracted them in because of how you think and feel about yourself. You're radiating out this energy level, and then so you're going to attract in this soulmate. You're going to attract in what it is that you need to still move on. So soulmates are an opportunity to continue to keep growing. Then there are other soulmates which in a relationship, they're the how do I say this, they're more of the yes ma'am, no ma'am, sort of. They're there to be accompanying you on your soul journey, that they're to hold your possessions or hold your space or to support you in a different way. And that soulmate is there, you do get something out of their relationship. You know that they're there for you, you know that you're growing with them, sort of, but there seems to be like a, thank you, just checking in with them, like a hierarchy within the relationship. It's like you'll take it in turns, that this individual will be maybe leading, and then it's your turn to lead. There's something like that with the soul connection there. But that's a different loving soulmate. But a lot of soulmates relationships are really about the contract you signed up to do before you came down. And it may be that you need to learn about something, and it might mean that you need to let go of individuals. Now, they were saying, thank you, that they're always saying that to enter into this soul contract, it has to always be from the heart center, in a sense that you need to be your authentic self. You have to travel on your journey, your soul journey. Now, the other relationships that we fall into could be manufactured. That's the word they just used, manufactured from our childhoods that we have been brought up in. Our families have, we've got this ideal in our head, like what a family should look like or what a partner should look like. Sometimes it's about a cultural thing or society thing or whatever it is. There could be that, and that's why you end up in a certain relationship. So it doesn't mean necessarily you're in a soulmate connection. It just might mean that you're in this marriage of convenience to some degree, or you've been attracted to this individual literally because of psychologically where you've been at on your childhood, your experience, what you've traveled through. Also, you know, if I think of well, it makes sense. For instance, you know, in my family, my mother's side of the family, money was always an issue. So I brought up moments where we had no money and I felt money was really important. I want to make sure that I had money, and I wanted to make sure that if I had children, they would be financially supported. So it made sense of the energy that I was resonate within me, the fear factor of having lack of money. It made sense that I met a number 8, which money 8 is really drawn to a number 8, and 8 can be, in numerology, can be really out of balance with money and can be very controlling. So it made sense. My lesson I needed to learn ancestrally from my family was to bring in a soulmate that was all to do with money, and he has been in a past life before controlling money. And that goes back also ancestrally through my mother's side of the family, where money was always an issue. So my energy, I was sending out, sort of vibrating out of me, that I was going to attract a soulmate that was going to show me and teach me how to manage money. Not that he did show me how to teach me to manage money. It was the opposite. It's actually made me think, right, I can do this. I can be financially independent. And it's normally, that's how the universe works. Because, thank you, what they have found, my guys just said, is what they have found is that if we tell the human being this is your lesson to learn, they're not going to learn it. The human beings can be a bit lazy. Why would they want to put themselves into an aggressive or violent relationship or a situation where they're homeless? They're not going to do that. They're going to go, no, I'm going to protect myself. That's why we have the human brain to remind us of how to protect ourselves. It stores all information in our human brain to protect ourselves. Thank you. And that's why, thank you, they just said, this is why when the soul comes back and revisits your planet, that you have amnesia initially when you come forward through the birth canal. You get amnesia that you don't recognize those individuals in your life until you start doing the work. Because if you were to know that, say they just said, if Anne was to know that she was going to step forward to meet this number 8 in this lifetime, and she'll go, no, I'm not coming out, sorry, no, forget it, I had a previous lifetime with this person, don't want to revisit that again, no, thank you very much. So having the amnesia of not remembering your soul journey from previously makes sense, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. Now, when you start doing that work on yourself, that on that soul level, the psychological level as well, what happens is you start clearing those blocks, and it starts sending a karmic wave of healing energy down your ancestral line. Now, your ancestral line meaning your family line. So whatever work I do on myself now means the women, it goes back. So there's no such thing as past, present, and future. That's what the humans helps them to understand better. But on a dimensional level, it just means it's being relayed back through my ancestral line, that the women are being healed, karmically being healed, and moving forward on my link, there will be no other women that will be going through the same process of money and feeling that they don't have any rights and stuff like that. So there's major shifts and changes now. Okay, twin flames, woohoo. Okay, I'm actually in a twin flame relationship, and I didn't realize this until the other day, because I reached out to my guides and I said, is this like a twin flame? So speaking from experience, I've had the soulmates. Soulmates, you can have more than one soulmate. Soulmates will come to you at the vibrational where you are at in your energy stream. So you can have a number of soulmates, because soulmates show up where you are at in yourself. So there's more than one, and at the time of finding them, it will feel they are the one, because you are the one, you are vibrating the same frequency. But if you do changes on yourself, personal growth, personal development, because of whatever happens in your life, your experiences, you're experiencing as a human being, it makes changes to you. And if the soulmate continues to grow with you because you've had similar experiences, that's all fair and well. But that normally doesn't happen. And normally then it's time that something happens and there's a rift, and then the soulmate connection breaks, and then you're ready for your next soul connection if you're following your heart and allowing it to guide you. Okay, right. Now, twin flames, a bit different. And when I asked my guides, I was just checking in with them. Twin flames, they come in at the same time, sort of. Now, our time span is very different from on a soul level. And when we think of 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 20 dimensions, very different. Okay, vibrates at different speed, totally. When I'm in deep trance, my heart vibrates at a faster speed, and so it's a different energy. So the dimension's very different. So when we're in the 3D dimension, that's very much about, as a human being, we're looking at paying bills, we're looking at our jobs, we're going to work, we've got issues going on around us. It's very much 3D level. That's very much that in the human density of the brain and psychology, and feeling very heavy. When we think of the 4th dimension, we're moving, we become more aware of, you want to call it spirituality, we're more aware of energy, we're more aware of there is more than ourselves, we're more aware of us being guided, and how the energy flows are very different. Now, if we look at twin flames, what happens with them, that they said it's a bit like Noah's Ark. You step in 2 by 2. So it's a bit like the animals. You step forward with your soulmate. You make a soul contract. It's like you bind each other to each other. You're part as one to some degree. Now, the soulmate that I have, or the twin flame that I have right now, I think he's like 6 years older than me. And then you might go, well, you didn't come at the same time. But we did, but it's the transition between that time frame. So when you say, for instance, when your soul comes in, it's not the same time span as what we would have as humans thinking, because if we think time was constructed purposely, or especially because of humans needed to know what time we're going to meet up somewhere. So that time was created on the clock, and obviously, you know, the sun going down the sundials and stuff like that, and the moon, and we know it's a day, and then the sun comes up, we know that's a day. But time is constructed in a very different way, energetically. When I speak to loved ones who've passed over on the side when I'm a medium, it's like they have never gone anywhere, and they might have passed in the human sense 10-15 years ago, but their energies, it feels as if they're just here right now. So it's a different time zone. So twin flames come in together in a way that they know they're going to be together, and they know they're actually going to grow together. So it sounds very nice when I say it, but not necessarily. Twin flames, it can be quite rocky depending on where they are at in their progress, and depending on where you're at. You're both, in a way, are here to help hold yourself accountable for things. So it's like the other one pull the other one up. It's not bills and booms sort of thinking, oh, light and fluffy and hearts and everything. Not always. But they will pull you up on things. They will hold you accountable. They might be going through a development growth. They might have learned something psychologically and personal development, and then you're sort of held back a bit, and you've got to catch up with them. But you seem to be learning things similar paces. This is how it works. So the relationship can be fiery at times. It can be very sexual, that sort of energy. A lot of twin flames have had past life existences before together. You might feel into a past life. That's happened to me with this individual partner, that we, you know, during the act of making love, we have felt that we've been past life together. We get visual images together, and we talk it through, like, wow, did you see that? Yes, medieval time. Yes, we've been here, that we've done that. And so we are connected on that level. We keep coming forward in each of the lifetimes together. And it's like we are journeying together. And it's also that we feel like we've got a mission or a purpose to do together, or to get out, to get done, and the other person is aware of that, and it sort of pushes you along as well. So, and the twin flames, it can have those moments, as I say, quite fiery, Okay, thinking alike, you can think alike. I know from this individual, if they're not near me and they're thinking of me, literally I can pick up on what they're thinking, and we tune in very intuitively to each other. Psychically, we're very much in tune. We could be walking together, or something coming to my head, it's coming to their head at the same time. Very in tune, both together. Now, there's those things that you could say, okay, you're both quite psychic, you're both in tune. There is that, but it's like, it's our personalities are the same, we're very similar. We've crossed over many times in the past. They live 2 hours away from me, but when we look at their past, I was stayed in the relationship longer than I should have, maybe a 10-year stretch, maybe I should have walked away. They had something very similar that happened to them. They were in a very similar relationship. They stayed an extra 10 years for the sake of the children. They lived literally, I used to live in North London. They lived, say, 20 minutes away from me. I didn't even physically know they existed at that time. They were 20 minutes away from me. We had walked our dogs on the same common to get, like, you know, different times. He had been to the hospital where I worked with his wife a few years when I was working at the same time. Growing up, again, he lives out of London. Growing up, he had been in certain parts of London, and we must have just passed each other like sliding doors. It was just crazy. He knows friends that I know, friends from friends. So there's this connection we've constantly been missing each other, because we never did what we wanted to do for ourselves. We never was aligned with ourselves. We never was being authentically true to ourselves. We put others first. We was in different situations, in a sense of our partners that we had, but we always thought about other people's needs. And the idea, because I was checking with them earlier, the idea is for you to fulfill your soul's needs. It's about coming back to your heart, what it truly desires, not the head, not the brain. Now, when we met initially, it wasn't mills and booms and hearts and like, oh, I love this person. It wasn't that at all. It was very fiery. It was like, we both have very similar personalities. We were both cocky to each other. Didn't know we were going to be in a relationship. We're still in a relationship after 16 months. And it was very, very fiery, but in a sort of comedy sort of way, sort of like, yeah, well, you know, I don't need you, you don't need me, blah blah blah. And then literally when I met this individual, because I thought he'd researched me, the first day, literally he took his shoes off, walked on the grass, and I was like, what? That's what I do. Then he ran over to a tree and hugged a tree, and I was like, this is crazy, this is what I do. And I've been on several dates with different people, and there was no, even though they might like similar things, you know, might like yoga, might like the spiritual stuff like I do, they weren't doing the same thing that I would have done or the way I did it. We ended up having a picnic, and he was talking about past lives, and I was like, why are you talking about past lives? And he was like, I'm into past lives. And he'd had a couple of near-death experiences himself, which is really crazy because I don't meet many people who've had near-death experiences. So his journey through his childhood, very similar to mine. Alcoholic member of parents, he's had that. There's been a lot of things, so there's so many coincidentals. And then even a conversation I said last night to them about feeling like a cuckoo as a child growing up in my family, didn't feel I feel connected. Again, he's had very similar. There was lots of things we were like, wow. And even the taste of music, so it's almost like inseparable. So so that's like with the twin flame. But there are those negatives to being in a relationship with twin flame as well. If they are not prepared to do the work on themselves and look at their journey, they can be left behind and you're moving forward. Now, twin flames tend to stay in your life. So even we had a conversation not so long ago where there's a situation where he might be going his own way to travel around the world to do something. We both spoke about it and said we're so much like best buddies and friends that would always stay in touch with each other. There's that. And the love we have for each other is like, well, I would love you like a brother or whatever. I love you that much. So it's very, very different from a soul connection, a soulmate connection. So let me have a look, see if there's anything else. So with the soul, okay, thank you. They just said, remember your soul's here to learn on your journey. Your soul is to take you through being in the human being that you are experiencing everything. That's why you've been given your senses, so that you know that when you are in love with someone, you fall in love with them. Or some of you will say, they said, someone's walked over my grave, or my hairs are standing on end, or whatever they sort of said. You're meant to experience all these experiences because the human self, you have been constructed in that way. But on a soul level, you're here to do the work on your soul, to have the progression. Okay, thank you. They said, there's no way getting out of here for free, or there's no way getting out of here, they sort of said. They said, I go into the Akashic records quite a lot, and I channel a lot of light beings, and they show me what happens with the soul being addressed during when you pass over. So when you leave a human vessel, and the human vessel no longer functions, like we humans say death, but there is no real true death. It's that then you rebirth into a different structure, or you move in recycling. Okay, thank you. They just said somebody might ask about reincarnation now. Okay, so on a cell level, so I've had this where I've had somebody sit in front of me and they said, well, I want to know, because where they've come from, their culture, they believe in reincarnation, but they wanted to hear some information from a family member, but they passed over a long time ago. And they said, I want to know what they think, but have they already reincarnated? Oh, okay, thinking they're going to go on to another topic as well to do with this soul thing. So remember, I was saying to you, there are many parts to you. Okay, how am I going to explain this? There are many parts to you. So how you are as a soul in this lifetime, you show up as who you are as an individual. Now, when you pass over your soul, there is many particles, many sides to you. So there could be part of you that is reincarnated, that is living that lifetime. There could be that part, I think it's a bit like a doorbell, they said, or knocking at the door. There's a part of you that's also moving and flowing and will be stepping forward. So thank you, they said, it's a bit like the past, the present, the future. There is no such thing. There's just another dimension of yourself that steps forward in spirit when I communicate with you. When you want to speak to your relative, you may have passed over 20, 30 years ago or 100 years ago, but the spirit, the essence, thank you, the essence of you comes forward in spirit form that I can communicate with you. It's like a telephone that I still am able to communicate with you, even though you may have reincarnated already and you come through as somebody else, might be someone in your family even, or somebody else. So that can happen. This is what they're saying. Now, something a little bit, maybe, okay, I don't know if I wanted to revisit or visit that, but they also said about, they said, please talk about if someone takes their own life, what happens then with the soul. Now, I've worked with a lot of individuals that have clients that have sat here in front of me that have been on the verge of taking their own life, because as a therapist, I've worked with them on that level, or they've known individuals on the other side that have taken their own life. And a lot of the time when I communicate, these are clients on this side and clients on this side. And when I do communicate with them on this side, the message I have been told, myself personally, I've dealt with about 70 of those individuals who've taken their life, that they're not at peace, they're not at rest, a lot of them, unless someone like myself does some healing work with them to help them to pass over. Sometimes they can get a bit stuck because they don't realize they've actually taken their own life. They're a bit confused. It's a little like a land of limbo. So what happens is that somebody like myself will go in and reassure them, which I've actually had to do that, reassure them that they have passed over. You are there now and you're no longer stuck in that area. Now, what happens is if somebody who has taken their life and hasn't moved on, who hasn't been guided, who hasn't had the healing to move on the other side, every time there's a living member of family that is connected to them, they feel the grief of those individuals. So they constantly feel the grief. So it's not an easy option. It's not an easy way out. So that's what I've had when I've looked about the 70 individuals I've communicated with, is that they have constantly ongoing felt the grief of their loved ones, because it constantly keeps coming up that they haven't quite passed over yet. And I have gone in and I've had release them and help them to heal and help them to move on. So, and then their soul can then move on. Okay, thank you. And then they're just talking about the Akashic records. They said then the soul goes and weighs up your life when you're at the gate, and Archangel Metrodon is there and processing, and you've learned through what you needed to learn, similar to when I had my near-death experience, when I got knocked down by the car. my soul hadn't totally left my human body. My soul was still connected to my human body to some degree, but there was part of the fragment that I was somewhere else. I'm being shown information about the blueprint, the architect of my life and my past lives. And I needed to know that information because I needed to know this is the work that I was going to do as I move forward as the human being. So the soul, there's like the information is kept as blueprints, so that they know where you're at, where you're going. And that's then when you'll check in with your higher self, when you start working with your higher self to guide your soul and listen into your soul. That's the other work that you can do. When you tune into your higher self and do that work, you can ask, you know, like, where do I go now? Give me a direction. You're not then analyzing it with the brain, you're working with your higher self. And then that's when it helps you. And then you've got your guides and everybody else there for you. Okay, so this was a brief conversation on soul connections, and there will be more to come. There is so much information there. You can listen back to this because this is recorded, and so it will be on the dashboard of Odyssey, the platform, and you can have a look at it again and again and again. For those who are with me now live in my live audience, for them I will press stop and I will communicate with them and answer their questions. And if you are listening to this somewhere else, another format, another platform, and you do have a question, do message me, and then I will get back to you with any questions, any answers that I can do. So just talking about soul connections, we can have past relationships with individuals that are thinking of us, that haven't let go of us, that we've tried to uncouple their energy from ourselves, but they can appear in your dream. And this exactly happened to me the other night, where my ex-partner, he over a period of time keeps appearing in my dreams. And because of where the brain is at, it's easier for a soul or somebody to think about you to come into a dream. It sort of breaks through all the borders and everything else. And I actually literally had to say in my dream the other night, the language was quite blue, but I had to say, what are you doing here in my dream? Get out. And they just stood there and they said, I didn't even realize it's in your dream, because the individual was thinking of me. They literally had popped in. They were able, because they're thinking about me on that brainwave level, their energy, they were able to pop into my dream. So soul connections, he was a previous soulmate, a past soulmate. I'd learnt a lesson through him, but because he is thinking of me on an energetic level, he could pop into my dreams. So it was just something I needed to add to that as an extra.